a lot of those students, they do transfer to 2- and 4-year institutions, and we do have to assess them, or not only assess them, but then offer assistance as well.
Thank you, Mr. McWilson. I have a question for the principal from Cleveland. Quick, it's a yes or no answer. And then I have a statement I'd like to add. But do you have autonomy to make your own personnel decisions with teachers?
That's a yes and no answer. So to some extent, yes, because I do have I have the ability to hire, but in certain situations, sometimes we do receive placements. So then that would not be autonomy. That would be someone who's just placed in my building.
Okay. Because if you really want principals to be held accountable for the results of their school, they need to be able to make those personnel decisions, key personnel decisions, but I understand. The other thing that I just wanted to add was that in my previous position as coordinator of gifted programs, Northwestern University offers something called the Midwest Talent Search. They start giving the ACT test to 7th graders. It demystifies the test and helps the kids get better each year. So if an 11th grader has already taken that test as a 7th, an 8th, a 9th, and a 10th grader, they're going to do better. So the issue is that to qualify for the Midwest Talent Search, and this is out of Northwestern University, you can Google it, to qualify to take that test as a 7th grader, you used to have a 95th percentile on an achievement test in one of the content areas. Now, we all know that IQ tests and achievement tests are not always culturally fair tests. So in their infinite wisdom, Northwestern University now takes parent nominations for that test. They have improved access. So Mr. McWilson, I am going to challenge you and your organization to help parents nominate their children to start taking this test at the 7th grade, because it will improve, it's an access issue. It's an access issue, and we have to start to create a culture of high achievement versus low achievement. We have to show our students, you can do this. We have to tell them, we believe in you. You might not be thinking about college right now, you're only in the 7th grade, but we believe in you. We believe that we have a vision that you can do this someday. So I would encourage all the parents who are here, anyone that has access to parents, Midwest Talent Search at Northwestern University, there's a sliding scale for cost. I think some students are able to take that test at no cost, but it's not really that expensive. I think it's $59 or maybe $50. So that's something the community could help raise money for as well. And I would highly recommend that we start to do that, especially in our early colleges across the state. The other comment that I have relative to gifted students, if we are under-identifying minorities in gifted programs because the tests that they're using are not culturally fair, there is a whole body of research of the instruments that we can start to use to cast the net wide and to start to grow talent, because giftedness can be manifested at any age. It doesn't have to happen in kindergarten or 3rd grade right before they take their standard achievement tests. So I'm probably going on too long, so anyway, those tests, there are tests that you can use, and with that gifted NR, that means not reported, that's because they didn't have enough gifted kids identified in that subgroup to count them. In Youngstown, I think we missed our designation from an F grade to a D because of 1 or 2 gifted kids that had they been populated in that group, the NR would not have been there, they would have counted. So in all honesty, our grade was really a D this year. So the other thing you have to do is you have to, as Victoria Bernhardt said, who is a guru, one of the national gurus on data in our country, she said, if the data is not telling your story, you need to tell the rest of the story. So I applaud you all for being here today to tell the rest of the story. Thank you.
So my question is going to be for the principals, Principal Smith and Principal Jones. Monica, I think you already know I'm a huge fan of yours, and Principal Smith, I am a very proud CMSD grad. I've been in this area for about 8 years, and I'm actually a CMSD former administrative staff, working in and around education. And whenever you see success stories like this, the follow-up questions or the naysayers, it's always, well, that could never happen here, or that's a very special case, or only in one small school, or yada, yada, yada. So you answer the question, which I think all early college programs get asked, is, you pretty much answer that, is that, well, they're taking the cream of the crop. Those are already the high achievers, of course, but you've already explained that when you pull them in and you assess them, you have several students that are not performing at, and you also use other different criteria, and then your job then is to bring them along, right? So the question that I still have, I'd like some clarification on, Monica, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if things have changed, but is it that and Ms. Smith, this is for you too, some of your students, like I know your seniors and maybe your juniors, Monica, are in their college classes all day. Like
Yes.
That's where they are.
Yes.
If you have students still, the lower classmen, that are in typical classrooms, can both of you talk a little bit about your student-teacher ratio or class size? Because that's another one that, they like to throw around. But if you're able to, if that impacts the success you have, I want to know how you think about that.
Sure. Class size is important. Our school is a small school model. So the student-teacher ratio generally is like 1 to 15, 1 to 17. The class sizes are a little higher at the 11th and 12th grade because those students are on campus full-time. They only need like one other high school class or maybe two. So the cohorts are a little bigger. So then you see numbers like 22, 23. Now that might not sound big to some, but it is big to us in that model. But I try to be very intentional about the class size because we don't want that to be a problem. We need the class size to not be a distraction in the instruction process.
Thank you. My story is a little bit different in that in my freshman class, we're at about a 31 to 32 to 1 ratio student to teacher. So my classes are pretty heavy in my freshman level courses. Sophomores this year, just because we have a smaller cohort, for sophomores, it's about a 26, 27 for every one teacher. And then as we get higher up in the grade levels, it goes down because most of our students are off campus at Cleveland State, Tri-C, and they're taking some of those high school requirements at the other college campuses. But it's pretty big, my freshman and sophomore years, which are the years they're actually taking the OSTs.
One quick follow-up. Can you both talk a little bit about retention? How many of your students start with you and their first level and then actually complete with you?
On average, after freshman year, we usually lose maybe about 3 to 4 students during that year. If they stay till their sophomore year, they're most likely going to be with us through senior year. The largest loss is that freshman year.
We typically, in the past, we've kind of cut down considerably because we would lose maybe 3 to 5 kids after freshman year and maybe 1 to 2 students after 10th grade. But now we're at the point where the last 2 years we have not lost any freshmen and they have been able to matriculate to the 10th grade. And so we're reducing those numbers. What we're finding a little bit is that when they get to the 11th or 12th grade, I'm finding that because there wasn't a whole lot of prep work at the middle school level as far as like career exploration and development, that they figure out, I don't want to do this anymore. This doesn't match. And so when they're confronted with a battle or a challenge that's challenging their ability to be persistent or resilient, they just quit. And so I think that's an articulation issue, vertical articulation, where we have to continue to build that bridge between the middle school, even elementary, from elementary, middle, and high school, so that we can better prepare kids for career exploration, so that, because we know that you don't have to go to college, but coming into the early college program is about a choice. It's a pathway. In traditional high schools, you have multiple choices. You have multiple pathways, but early college is just one of those pathways. And they've built a program or a school or a support system for that child if they choose to come to early college, just like they choose to go to a career tech school. They choose to go to the military. And that's what we're about. I heard Mrs. Pappas say, it's about access and it's about choices. So that's what we try to do at the early college model. I'm sure Principal Smith will agree to that.
Yes.
Also, one of the pieces that we're missing is the data analysis and analytical piece. In terms of just population in general, if you look at the slides of what the income was or what the district was actually supporting these schools with, if you notice, Cleveland was almost double in terms of what early college was getting. I think it was around 4,400 per student. You were 22,000. So if you look at the analytics, that cognitive piece of data, we miss a lot. And sometimes we all know that data can be skewed because of numbers. Population of Youngstown is roughly around that 66,000. We're in the city of Cleveland. It's 230 something thousand, I believe. It might be greater. So those are those pieces that we also have to look at as well. Again, if you're looking at 100% low income of a population of 66,000, we also go against other things like the Ed Choice Award, which allows inner city families to move their students into private education. So these are all these things that we have to look at in terms of low income education and the options that they have.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is the Honorable Kevin A. Tarpley. I'm with the Youngstown Lifeguard Academy. I'm here with our captain, Luther Bell of the Academy. And I'm a former chair of a school board. And one of the things that I'm interested in hearing from the principals in particular is the support and prep for parents around the academic piece. And I raise this question because it's been